Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and this is January 31st, YC125, and this is the Eve Universe Show! Caldari State, Fortify, Onamon, and senior commanders briefed on relay research technology. Onamon, BlackRise. Caldari forces continue to build up their military and logistic network in their newly declared, quote, Joint Navy and Militia HQ, end quote, an Onamon system, following a communique from the Caldari State authorities to Capsuleer pilots loyal to the State Protectorate Militia last week. Although the official establishment of Onamon as an overall command headquarters for the Caldari operations in the Caldari Gallente militia war zone was somewhat marred by Sancha Nation incursion in the Iokin constellation, fortifications of stargates and the foundation of a new station construction site went ahead as planned under the heavy Navy Guard. The Sanchas Nation incursion withdrew after a week of attempt to break the Caldari defenses met heavy resistance from planetary forces across Iokinen. Executive General Heike Torigo expressed satisfaction at the success of fortification operations in Onamon and indicated her eagerness to complete construction of the new Caldari Navy station in orbit of the 7th planet. General Torigo has commended the Capsuleers of the State Protectorate Militia for their, quote, fortitude and skill in repelling the Federation assaults on state holdings, end quote, in the war zone. In related developments, General Torigo has also held a senior operational and combat command officers briefing at the State Protectorate Station in Onamon, with information to be transmitted to all hands provided to attending commanders. Reports from sources within the Caldari Armed Forces indicate that briefings included authorized information on the Surthud campaign of YC-124 centered on holding Othnun's system, constructing a new Stargate, and a relay research program. All of these efforts involving heavily Capsuleer militia participation and are believed to have significantly advanced Caldari interest in the wider theater of conflict within the Gallente Federation. Perhaps the greatest interest were the additional details of the impact of the research program based on exploitation of Triglavian technology discovered within Othnun and the wider Surthud constellation. General Torigo's briefing is understood to have confirmed that for general release that the core Triglavian technology obtained by the Caldari from the Surthud constellation or campaign is a form of, quote, novel technology capable of interstellar FTL transport and in theory of high precision and unbounded range. Rumors from Othnun's system has suggested that the Triglavian facility was experimenting with, quote, planetary invasion technology or some form of human-scale precision transport relay. Sources in Incom, Concord, and the other three core empires have variously expressed concern or skepticism at the level of threat posed by such technology. One particularly well-placed source in the Amar Empire has claimed that the Caldari research program, quote, achieved a basic understanding of the overall technology, but has plainly not achieved fine control, or even developed the necessary resources to initiate operations at even a trial stage. Amar Empire, defiant on transmuter technology and establishes headquarters in Mehator following Caldari move. Mehator Divoolej. Captain Marshal Zerdan Sirkosh has reiterated the determination of the Amar Empire to continue, quote, developing stellar transmuter technology in order to exploit this critical strategic technology, end quote. As Supreme Commander of the Imperial efforts to, quote, pacify the rebel provinces, an Amar revanchist term for the Mimitar Republic, Marshal Zerkosh has been at the forefront of promoting Amar efforts to capitalize on the stellar transmuter technology captured from the Triglavians in the Arshat system during the invasions. Sources familiar to the Amar court politics indicate that Marshal Zerkosh, a long-time and hardline throne loyalist, is essentially a proxy for Empress Katniss I, with recent political moves involving an apparent attempt to bind the royal Ardashipper and Sorum families to imperial military policy. A struggle for power and control between Marshal Zerkosh Imperial Navy command elements alongside the powerful Ministry of War against the Ardashipper and Sorum-controlled Imperial military circuits holding jurisdiction over the rebel provinces is said to be underway. Against this background, the royal houses of Kodor and Korazor are claimed to be focusing on strengthening their domestic, economic, and diplomatic power, while the Empress's own former house of Tashmerkon pursues trade and diplomatic policies firmly in line with quote, the will of the imperial throne. The inscrutable and unpredictable House Khanid has meanwhile been reported to have been rebuilding its economic, scientific, and military capabilities following a prolonged, thoroughgoing purge. While this internal security operation began as a crusade against heretics and cultists, it has also served to completely eliminate nascent opposition to King Khanid III's rule of the autonomous Khanid kingdom. While attending a ceremony to formally declare Mahador a combined fleet group HQ, Captain Marshal Zerdan Sakosh once more commended Capsuleer militia fighters of the 24th Imperial Crusade for their, quote, vigorous efforts in defense of Holy Amar and to advance the light of the Imperial Throne's wisdom across territories too long blighted by heresy, terrorism, and the radical evil of Shakurite policies. Further addressing the aftermath of the Turner incident and the capture of the Imperial prototype stellar transmuter in Egmarn Vard, Marshal Zerkosh exalted that the achievements of the Amar while pouring scorn on the Minmatar response. Quote, it is clear that the result of our operations in Turner system was not the optimal outcome, but in fact remains that our efforts have to harness the power of stellar transmutation to achieve the goal of altering local space-time topology. Moreover, having learned from our first steps, naturally imperfect because they were human, we shall persist with efforts to develop this power. On the other hand, the Minmatar, having seized control of the other facilities by low treachery and naked force, took fright and could do no other than to simply shut the experiments down. A pity, but it tells us what we already know. Holy Amar shall prevail and reclaim all the stars for the Empress and God. Alarm and scorn in diplomatic circles as Caldari and Amar moves to further develop Trignovian technology. Uli, Genesis. Concord Inner Circle President Seri Akanaya has expressed her deep disquiet at the increasing militarization and, quote, unmistakable moves aimed at total war exhibited by the Caldari state and Amar Empire, end quote. President Akanaya, chair and senior Concord delegate on the executive decision-making body of the Concord Assembly, further voiced her, quote, hope that these great states and empires will pull back from the precipice towards which they are rushing and, I fear, dragging all of us. Ambassador Devin Maladate of the Federation, Ambassador Kaitan Yun of the Republic, and unusually elder mentor Matashi Reich of the SOCT joined President Akanaya at a press briefing of the Inner Circle HQ in orbit of Uli 8, following a weekend meeting with the Inner Circle. Elder Mentor Reich, rarely seen in public and still less given to making public statements, suggested that the dangers of any one empire exploiting Triglavian technology, quote, at this scale and with potential consequences we all witness in Turner, end quote, called for interstellar cooperation and control of such developments through Concord. Ambassador Malatate, while granting the SOCT's position has some wisdom, expressed skepticism, noting that, quote, remoteness of possibilities to resolve the issues of developing such technology by old regime of voluntarily sharing in pursuit of peace, end quote. Elaborating on the Gallente stance, Ambassador Malatate added, quote, it is clear that the situation where such an imbalance in technology of this power exists that ever more destructive conflicts is a risk, and the Federation shall act to correct this imbalance by any means necessary, end quote. For his part, Ambassador Kaitan Yun responded forcefully to recent Amar assertions of continued development of stellar transmuter technology, quote, it is plain that the Amar Empire under Katis has become even more warped and corrupt entity than any of us thought possible. Despite our long centuries of familiarity with the Imperial double talk and Amarian magical thinking, there can be no peace while the Empire indulges with mad power fantasies expressed by its militarists and expansionists like Katis, a woman who has been allowed to cloak overwhelming ambition behind a facade of business acumen and rationality for far too long. Ambassador Yun continued, quote, be assured, the Minmatar Republic will act to ensure the survival of our people and the integrity of our traditional and rightful territories, no matter what it takes, no matter how long the struggle. Let me also offer a warning to the Caldari people. The Amar are not your friends, which you know quite well, but they are not even your partners. They will turn on you the very instant it suits their purposes. Turner has revealed the scope of their ambition and lined their utter and total ruthlessness in a sign you cannot ignore, end quote. And that is it for your news from Monday, January 30th, YC 125. Thank you for watching. This has been Ashrothi, the voice of New Eden, and until next time, I'll see you in space. Woo! All right. Did I see the tax restructuring? Where's that? Basically, you've been writing everything. I mean, you know, it happens. So, today, what do we want to do? Well, first I want to put on an ad. Do we... Really? Well. There we go. All right. Look at that smirk. Hey, man. All right. So, how's it going, guys? It is been pretty good. Yesterday went really well for me. Today has been kind of a minor nightmare, but you know, whatever. I woke up. They still don't have my meds. My bank account is overdrafted because they decided to take my money out yesterday and don't give me money until tomorrow. You know, it's been a bit of a panic. But at the same time, also, Thursday and Friday, my son has off school. So today is our only day off, our only day to stream this week. However, I still have all of the videos that I was supposed to edit from last week. So expect to see those coming out during that time this weekend. Okay. Today, I want to talk a little bit about what's been going on and what we can expect next. I know we did just do the what's next video, but now we can kind of zero in on this week and next week, okay? So what has been going on? Well, what has been going on is that one by one, each of the corporate or each of the alliances, each of the empires have been getting their own headquarters, okay? So let's see here. We have in it's not Sam, but it is close to it. So in Onamon, we just read, this is the Caldari headquarters. And then we have Mehator. This is the new Amar headquarters. And finally, we have not Harar, but it's next to Harar. So let's go look. Is it Ammo? I think it's Ammo. Ammo as the third headquarters. Right? Yeah, it's Ammo. So the Mimitar headquarters is in Ammo. That's in this is not in game yet. This is via the Hobo Leaks. So the question is, hey, what's up, Mad Hatter? The question is, what Eve life is greater than real life? I know, right? Where is the Gallente headquarters is going to be? Or I guess what we should probably answer first is, why hasn't the Gallente gotten a headquarters yet, right? There is one thing that I've noticed, which is that the order that the headquarters came out was the Caldari got theirs pretty early, like last week. Then the Amars got theirs like yesterday. The Mimitars appeared today on Hobolique, so it'll show up very shortly thereafter. The Gallentes hasn't gotten theirs yet. That pattern matches the previous event. The Caldari completed their task first. The Amar completed their task just before Turner exploded, and the Mimitar finished their task just after the Turner explosion, and the Gallente never finished theirs. So, if you assume that the Gallente's task was completed by thanks, Sutonia. If you consider the fact that the taking of Intaki would be the fourth event, and replacing the Gallente's completion of their thing, then that would put the Gallente structuring of their headquarters coming shortly thereafter, maybe a week or so after after the Minmatar one is established. So that's why the Minmatar, or that's why the Gallente may not have a headquarters yet. But the next question is, where is it going to be? I have a theory. So let's look at the three again, okay? We have ammo. Actually, let's look at it this way. We're going to look at it a slightly different way. We're going to go to the faction warfare map. By the way, Satonia, since you're here, I haven't gotten to talk to the rest of the community team yet, but it looks like all the copyright issues are done now. I haven't gotten a strike in over a week. So you can report that back to everybody if I don't get a chance to. If we open up the faction warfare map, we can see that Onamon is right here, adjacent to Kanaka, in the same constellation as Samanuni. Okay? If we go over to the Minmatar Gallente side, or, sorry, if we go over to the Minmatar Mars side, we see that, where is it? Ammo is right here, adjacent to the war zone on the Minmatar side. The Amar have Mechator on this side of the war zone, adjacent to their rear guard. Okay? So all three headquarters are adjacent to the war zone on their side, have heavy buildup, and ammo and Mechator were both the turn-in points for the Triglavian data during their particular events. Would the Gallente not get a HQ at all at this point? No stones, no boxes, and all that? Well, that's what I'm saying. If you assume that they are replacing the Gallente's victory, or the Gallente completing the task, with Celis Agard's taking of the Intaki system, which happened after the event concluded, with the release of Uprising, that's what I'm pegging as being the Gallente timing, right? Because you're right, the Gallente never completed their gate. So I don't know if it would be that they never get an HQ, but they would certainly be the last, because the actual Federation had to do what the militia could not. All right, so so the question is, where is the Gallente headquarters? Well, if ammo was the turn-in point for that for their event, and Mechator was the turn-in point for Amar's side of the event, then maybe Amignon is the headquarters for the Gallente. We have plenty of facilities. Look at these. These are all the different facilities that have been built in Amignon. Now remember, Amignon was supposed to connect to Althanoon, but given the fact that they failed, they instead made the Stargate connect to Intaki. However, when they did that, they also took Intaki off the table. Now, it's worth noting, by the way, before we go any deeper, that if you go back to the Minmatar, the Caldari Gallente war zone, you'll see that all of this area that includes Intaki is, interestingly enough, still on the map, right? Like a lot of the other places, it's only like one or two systems that are off the map that maybe are shown, except for the constellation that includes Samanuni and all of the systems that got taken by Celis Agard back in during the capture, which is really weird, right? Like, it's kind of odd that they would keep all of these things on the map, unless maybe they'll one day put it back on the map as being eligible to be taken again. We'll have to see. However, the problem here is that Amignon, even though it was the turn-in point for the research center, and it does have the Stargate, there's two problems with Amignon being the headquarters. First of all, Samanuni is not the headquarters. Onamon is. So Amignon, being the Gallente equivalent of Samanuni, may not necessarily be the headquarters. The question would be, what would be the better proxy to Onamon, not Samanuni? There's a couple of weird things about that. Samanuni is adjacent to the war zone, but Amignon is not. Now, Intaki used to be in the war zone, could be in again, just like we were talking about, but the low-sec system that Amignon connects to is not in the war zone, which, by the logic that has been consistent with the other three headquarters, makes Amignon not eligible to be the headquarters. Also, it's worth noting that even while Samanuni was being built up, it wasn't just Samanuni that was being built up. It was the entire constellation around Samanuni that was being built up, which we now know is because all of the systems adjacent to Onamon were also getting fortifications, and Onamon was, in order for Onamon to become the headquarters. So basically that entire constellation is now fortified by the state. The Federation didn't do such a thing. They didn't have sites throughout the entire constellation. They only had sites appear, as far as I saw, in Amignon and one other system. Eskis, thank you for that. So what's this other system? Once again, up here we have Onamon, and it leads to Kanaka. Deep, deep Caldari rearguard, right? If we come down here, we see the system of Jafit. Jafit is adjacent to Mignon. Jafit is adjacent to the war zone through Oileta. And if we head there right now, since we're adjacent to it, Jafit is adjacent to Mignon. Now, while Amignon has been getting a bunch of buildup, you know where else has been getting buildup? Jafit. In fact, what's interesting is that if you go into the Uprising trailer, right? If we look at the Uprising trailer, let me pull that up real quick. If we look at the Uprising trailer, actually, I don't think, is it the trailer? No, it's not the trailer. It's the teaser. If we pull up the teaser, these buildups, okay? Now, this planet, this exact picture, I posted it on my Twitter, and Riley has too. Riley has basically literally taken this screenshot in game. You can go to Samanuni, to the lava planet, and orient your camera correctly, and it looks exactly like this in game right now. I mean, other than the fact that most of the shipyards are now being emptied out as they're deploying to other places. However, this planet, you know, we saw the planet that I was looking at earlier. It's pretty drab. The planet that I was at was pretty drab. And the planet that all of the other sites in that area are likewise kind of not really matching in the same way. Now, it could very well be that this is just a red herring or whatever, that the system isn't the way it is. But if we go to... Let's just keep poking around. Because I'm pretty sure... Oh, yeah, first of all, if you notice, we are now in Jafit. This is Jafit. Why does Jafit have all of these fortifications if it's not going to be important? Why does Jafit have all of these different new sites and is adjacent to the war zone? Look at this. This is sprawling. And look, that planet looks like it could be a lot closer. These planets look a lot closer. 07. To the actual image. There's one of these that looks like pretty spot on. But the point of the matter is that Emignon doesn't. And Japhet kind of does look like the planets that you see in the trailer. Japhet is also adjacent to Losec, adjacent to the war zone. It is an Edencom minor victory, which is the same as Emignon. Here it is. There it is. Look at this. Check this out. Now, obviously, once again, they've kind of cleared out a little bit, right? But if we look at this, and we look at this, you can see the planet in the background, can't you? Like this planet doesn't exist in Amy, but it does exist here. That one right there. Not that one. That one. So, I suspect different nebula. Well, let's look. That's true. Slightly different skybox, right? Yeah, because you can see cloud ring in that one. You can't really see cloud ring in this one. So it may not be necessarily perfect. Absolutely. And I could be wrong. But at this point, I'm pretty confident that the new headquarters is going to be here in Japhet. It's what they've been building up. It's got all of these different security points and other things like that. And it is the only system that I've found that is poised to be the correct system as a headquarters. The other system that I'd thought about was Valor, but I also counted the number of Stargates that have been added in, or at least the HQ Stargate strings, and it seems to match the number of Stargates in Japhet better than the number of Stargates in Valor. So here is the checkpoint, and this is the Oiletta Stargate. So this would be the Stargate that leads into the war zone. Why is this a question? It's a question because it's the only headquarters that we don't know yet. Where is the Cloud Ring Nebula? That's kind of interesting. That is actually really interesting. Let's go check out maybe we can look in Intaki. Let's look at Intaki. So, also, by the way, if you want to go check out, see what's up, I would recommend, we've got both war zones and the Syndicate, the constellation that's owned by the Caldari and the Syndicate. You didn't even know there were headquarters? Well, I just read the world news at the very beginning of the show. The Caldari established their headquarters last week. The Amar established their headquarters yesterday, and the Mimitar's headquarters has now shown up on Singularity. So, here's the other piece from the news, okay? I want to bring attention to one other thing before we jump into Losec. Back to the world news for a second. So, actually, before we do that, I want to say we've talked a little bit about recently we've talked about these guys. Right? This guy right here. We just talked about him the other day, and this event right here, right? This is Turner exploding, and this is Turner 1, and that's supposedly we just witnessed them all just die right now, right? That's what this clip is supposed to be. All of them dying, right? Now, in a previous video, I talked about why I don't think they're dead. Now I'm going to talk about how I have evidence. There's one missing piece to this theory, okay? As we showed last time, it turns out... Hey, what's up? Thank you for that, Don. As it turns out, that mask that they're wearing isn't just a mask. It is a full-body force field designed to protect them from extreme radiation and the vacuum of space. So in theory, they have a survival suit on them just with that mask. That is, remember, made from Triglavian technology. Okay, so there's one missing piece to that, right? Okay, fine, Ash. They lived. They survived the largest coronal mass injection since the Salient incident. We'll buy that for $1. Fine. Where are they then? Why aren't they there? If the Turner nomads did in fact survive, wouldn't we have found them on the planet when we went to go look afterwards? Wouldn't the world news had stumbled upon them? The answer, it shows in yesterday's world news, is no. No, it wouldn't. And this is why. Check this out. Perhaps the greatest interest were the additional details on the impact of the research program based on the exploitation of Triglavian technology developed in the Athenoon and the wider Soul Food constellation. So remember, this is not Caldari experimentation with Triglavian technology. This is Caldari discovery of Triglavian technology. All right. And it says that General Torrigo's briefing is understood to have confirmed for general release that the core Triglavian technology obtained by the Caldari from the Soul Food campaign is a form of, quote, novel technology capable of interstellar FTL transport and in theory of high precision and unbounded range. Furthermore, it goes on to say that what was actually happening was that the Triglavians were experimenting with a planetary invasion technology of some form of human-scale precision transport relay. So, they're literally saying here that what the Triglavians have been working on is a personal teleportation device, or an ability to basically kidnap people using a teleportation mechanism. Now, this is pretty science fiction. However, yeah, transporters. This is not unheard of. If we go back previously into the world news, we can find is this one it? Hold on, let me make sure I find it. Yeah. On March 8th, YC 122, so 2020, 3 years ago, during the presidential election time period, I think, we get this news. Triglavian raiding party depopulates colonial settlement on Esmus 3. Report, town stripped of biological matter on a molecular level, right? And if we follow up with Esmus 3, we can find that, in fact, they were found. Authorities mystified as population of Esmus 3 town discovered in Triglavian environmental facility on Gonar 2. Gonar sync liaison. The scope to Galactic Hour with Brett Gloriax can exclusively reveal that the population of the town and new concept of Esmus 3 are alive and apparently reasonably well after detecting strange signals emanating from the storm world of Gonar 2. Concord's Aegis Division discovered a bizarre environment maintained on the rocky surface of that inhospitable planet within the heavily protected environment were the population of the new concept colony, so recently believed to have been reduced to their constituent molecules by a Triglavian raid on the 8th of March. So, a bunch of humans, a bunch of people, and other things were stripped out of a colony on a molecular level, and then mysteriously appeared 18 days later in a totally different planet, in a totally different facility. And at the same time, there also was additional fortifications found in other systems too. I don't know if that's actually listed in here, but there's other of these experimentational facilities that were discovered around this time. This was just prior to Invasion Chapter 3. Okay? So we know that they have the ability to kidnap people, and now we know that they have this technology that allows them to basically beam people up. And we know that this Turner group mysteriously had access to Triglavian technology, and there's a mysterious leader called the Absolver who was basically preaching an end to the control of the empires in the area and a transformation of Turner. So it seems pretty obvious to me that this Turner group is going to appear either in Pakvin or in some other Triglavian Storm Planet facility, maybe even Othanoon, but I doubt it. But yeah, so the chances of us seeing this, the Turner people again, is only becoming more probable. We'll put it that way. All right, so now let's go ahead and check out Intaki and see what we can see. Again, remember, Mignon would be adjacent to the war zone if Intaki was still the war zone, but it's not anymore. So they could restore Intaki to being in the war zone, but also just the amount of fortifications that exist in this system now is absolutely incredible. It's also worth noting that, so there is a bit of a pattern as well, in that, so we have, now I'm not 100% sure on the Amar Gallente, or the Amar Mimitar side. Somebody's going to have to help me with that. But on the Caldari Gallente side, Samanuni is an Edencom system. Othanoon is a Triglavian system. Onamon, I think, is neither. Down here, Intaki is an Edencom system. And Jafit is an Edencom system. So the adjacency, there is Edencom systems nearby all of these different places as well. And of course, remember, Edencom is particularly interested in Triglavian technology, right? Also, I've noticed, like, where there used to be a massive amount of fortification around the Amignon Gate. I'm surprised that there isn't anymore. So there is actually something else that personal teleportation sounds too wacky for my taste. Yeah, but that's actually, like, this is something that has been present in the ideas that have been going on forever, right? Like transmuters, Triglavian stellar transmuters supposedly pull matter from the center of the star and move it in. The Adheduani are most known for non-locate whatever. I can't remember the name, what the word is, but like being able to affect multiple places at one time. Not non-determinism, but non-locality, basically. And you know, this idea of transportation, I mean, like, if you think about it, that's what a filament is, right? So these are just like personal filament devices. The Triglavians know how to warp and bend space-time. So they're not teleporting them in the same classic sense. It's not like they're scanning them and rebuilding them on a biological level like a transporter would. No, they're like making a micro wormhole around the person and pulling them through. Weren't there reports of Trig scanning the Turner star before the event? No, after the event. Once the Turner event occurred, Svarog poured into the system and began like scanning everything and looking and trying to secure the territory. Where can I do this? There we go. Transport is transport. They don't teleport. Transportation requires time. Teleportation is instantly. Well, yeah. Well, the thing is, yeah, so it would be teleportation. Well, hold on. Transporters could be teleporting. I would say that a teleporter is a kind of transporter, but not all transporters are teleporters. Technically speaking, the Hyperloop is a transporter. It transports people. A teleporter is a kind of transporter. So, what does this all mean? What does this mean for this week? What does this mean for next week? Well, here's the thing, okay? CCP has said that they may adjust some of the events that are coming up to better align with the story that they're doing. Let's look at something, okay? Come with me on a journey. February 14th is Valentine's Day. No? Why not? Solstice, why not? Tell me why I'm wrong. Are you telling me that a car doesn't transport people? If I arrange for a taxi cab to pick me up, have I not arranged for transportation? Correct. No, not all transports are teleporters, but all teleporters are transports because by definition, teleportation is transporting something. Is the Minotaur headquarters officially set up in ammo? No, it is on Singularity. No. Hold on. That's like saying that animals and mammals are two different things. How? Can you teleport without transporting someone? Solstice? How do you teleport without transporting someone? Or something? Do you teleport to the same location? Are you... I'm not sure where you're going with that. I want to arrange for teleportation just once. Make reservation. There you go. Teleportation does not move you around? Okay, hold on. They both have the same root word, which is port, which means to move. Transport means to move from one place to another. Teleport means to move instantly. But in order to move instantly, one must move from one location to another. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a teleport, it would be staying still. Teleporting, yes, there are things that can teleport, which in essence transport themselves. But if something teleports something else, then that is also a transporter. Nothing moves during teleportation, but it's somewhere else. No, nothing moves local to its own system. But in, like, a wider context, it does move. If I teleport from here to Pluto, my internal structure hasn't changed. But I'm now in Pluto. If I took a shuttle to Pluto, that would take me longer. But they would both be ways of transporting myself to Pluto. One's instant. One several hundred years, right? Yes, this is a reference frame issue. It's absolutely correct. I do a lot of physics stuff, guys. I don't want to, I've been a big fan of physics most of my life. No, but I'm just saying. I challenge you to find one example of a teleportation that is not also a transportation. That's all. Just like I would challenge you to find a mammal that is not an animal or not a eukaryote, right? These are just subcategories. Is it a Dark Age Empire or is it a Gallente? Well, a Gallente is a type of Dark Age Empire. All right. Back to what we were talking about. Today is the 31st of January, which would make it not this. Wait, hold on. Oh, right. It's Tuesday, January 31st. So the 14th is here on a Tuesday, right? So if they were going to start the Guardian Gala event, they would start it no earlier than today, because you're hardcore into the idea that fish aren't animals. Birds aren't real. Did you know that birds aren't real? It's just a government surveillance project. All of the birds in the United States have been killed and replaced by surveillance drones. True story. Look it up. All right. So what I'm trying to say, quantum teleportation involves two distant entangled particles in which the state of the third particle instantly teleports. It's a state of the two entangled particles. Yes, but that is a teleportation. That is a, hold on. What you're describing there is the transmission of information, right? The state is what is modified instantaneously in the second location. That's how the fluid router works. But to teleport something means to move it. Teleportation equals moving information. Hold on. That's actually the best argument you've come up with so far. The act or process of moving an object or person by psychokinesis. Instantaneous travel between two locations without crossing the intervening space. That is Merriam-Webster's definition of teleportation. Okay? Just throwing it out there. Hold on, this just reminded me of something. Hold on. I'm going to have to find this. Here we go. Ready?
I was going to say in jest that Eve feels like a game that doesn't seem to want to be played at all, but on reflection I think I might be onto something. My theory is that either it's a glorified space-themed chat room for the nerds who are to nerds what nerds are to normal people, or it's an executive toy for high-powered businessmen who are too busy to play a real game, something that you run in the background and occasionally mess with in between negotiating mergers, neglecting your spouse, and becoming emotionally dead. But then again...
All right, that was it. That's what that reminded me of. Just remember, we are nerds. Eve players are to nerds as nerds are to normal people. Okay. That's the 1-0 punctuation you watched. Awesome. Okay, so back to what we were talking about. If Valentine's Day is on the 14th, and Guardians Gala is going to encompass Valentine's Day, then chances are, I mean, like, obviously today would have been the first day it could have started. The chances of it starting this week is pretty, there is a chance that it could start sometime this week, Thursday, Friday, whatever, Guardians Gala. There's a pretty good chance that it'll start next week. So within the next week, within the next 7 to 9 days, the Guardians Gala is going to start. Now, last year, with the Guardian Gala, we did get some plot. And I hope that we actually are going to revisit that. Hold on. What they've started doing is they weave the story into the news events. So in this case, what happened last Guardians Gala was this little event. Now, this was part of a sequence of events, and we'll talk about it in a little afterwards.
The Angel Cartel has been confirmed to be behind an armed incursion into an Outer Ring Excavations research and development station in the 4C-TAC B7X system, carried out last week. Hijacking of the Rorqual-class industrial capital ship Esperance was evidently the main objective of this operation. The Esperance was being used by Outer Ring Excavations for the testing of prototype moon ore compression technology. Heavily armed cartel commandos infiltrated the station using a captured Bowhead-class freighter, the Astrolabe, which was scheduled to deliver equipment and supplies to the Esperance. Once docked at the 4C-TAC B7X station, disguised and equipped with forged biometric identity chips, the Angels managed to load their hidden assault team containers onto the Esperance unopposed. Once in place, the infiltrators struck and heavily armed commandos emerged from the containers. In mere minutes, the Angels took over the ship, powered up, and executed an emergency undock procedure. By the time the alarm was raised and ore security teams were at the docks, the Esperance had warped away. It is believed that the ship jumped out of the system with its prototype compression technology long before ore defense squadrons could respond. The Scope was invited to meet with Outer Ring Excavations CEO Afat Asset on board the Astrolabe earlier today. The interior of the freighter shows clear evidence of a deadly and ruthless assault, but with most of its logs wiped, information on the hijacking is partial at best. The means by which the Angel Cartel assault team managed to board and capture the Astrolabe is unclear, but it is suspected that the attackers hid in the specially modified cargo containers until the ship was underway. With typical Angel Cartel disdain for law enforcement, the attackers made no attempt to...
I feel like that's probably important. I never noticed that before. Hold on. So we've got Blek at Itsawa Athdi. That feels important. We should probably circle back
their
on that.
affiliation. Indeed, it appears a single audiovisual log from the Astrolabe was deliberately left untouched. This disturbing record
Last
shows
word
that
is
at
death?
least some of the
You're right.
freighters doomed
Hold on. Shit.
crew were cruelly ejected into space after their surrender. CEO Afat Asset made the following statement.
Citizens of New Eden, we came under attack last week when the peaceful mining vessel Esperance was hijacked by cowardly members of the Angel Cartel. The work carried out on the Esperance by its brave and selfless crew will in the long run benefit every man, woman and child of New Eden. Given a prototype moon ore compressor was installed aboard the ship, the Esperance was a unique and extremely valuable element in our development of materials compression technology. Integrated with the ore processing pipeline of our Rorqual-class vessels, this new technology is expected to deliver immense benefits to efficiency and logistics in the mining industries. Compressing moon ores and other harvestable resources will both reduce effective volume and shape the materials into more storage-efficient units. The breakthrough in material compression represented by this suite of technologies is set to revolutionize the mining industries of New Eden, leading to gains for all of our citizens. Of more immediate importance, however, is the fate of more than 50 of our key designers and technicians stationed on board the Esperance during the technology trials. These people are so much more than employees of Outer Ring Excavations. They are human beings with families, husbands and wives, mothers and fathers, sons and daughters. All these people are now held against their will by a ruthless criminal cartel. The safe return of our people is the highest priority of OR and our partners in the Upwell Consortium. We have therefore decided to post a reward of 1 billion ISK for each and every one of our designers or key technicians rescued and returned safely to any of OR's 4 primary stations in the Outer Ring region. Furthermore, we are also keen to share our compression technology with capsuleers assisting in the search and recovery of our people. This will be done in the form of skill books, developed to allow capsuleers to operate the new compression technologies. These skill books will be awarded via ore loyalty point stores to anyone who returns a sufficient amount of ore research data fragments recovered from the Angel Cartel or their allies to us. Thank you.
The scope will bring updates on the recovery of the people and materials that are so crucial to continuation of materials compression development. This is Alton Hovery, reporting for the scope.
Man, today's being a rough day overall. That was my son calling that he apparently is having a bad day at school. But he did want to say hi to everybody, and he wants to be able to stream for you guys soon. So, but we do want to talk about this guy a little bit. So, as we see here in this video, this was a video involving the event last year. There's another one in the future, but or that like is at the end of the event. But this is when compression technology was being released. And there's this guy, Rafik Zohar, who's from the Angel Cartel Dominations. He's never been... he's not from anything prior to this. He's got some really crazy high stats, by the way. And he's carrying a modified shotgun that appears to be like a Dust 514 kind of like equipment. He has a history in... looks like he's... What is this? Is this... Yeah, this is like Mimitar... Bloodied Chimera? Chimera? The Chimeras were... Yeah, so he was an Amar. He was a Mimitar slave that fought for the Chimeras until he deserted and then became the enforcer of the Skarkon 2 drug gang and joined the Angel Cartel and hijacks the transport. Hijacks the transport in 2015. We should probably look into whether or not that's a thing. And then, of course, in 2019, he steals QE4 HE chip shipment. It was a raid on Plex Vault and Odatrick. We could probably look up that event too. But the point of the matter is that this guy, there is a series of characters that were all introduced last year. If we go to my lore portal, under people, under major characters, minor characters. So we have Rafik Zohar, Esri Hakazosu, Leopold, and the Deathless. All right. So Rafik Zohar is the guy that we just looked at. Esri Hakazosu is from the Easter event. She was the Tanuki. She was the lady who has all of these records that we've looked at very closely. She was seen in the scope. She was meeting with the Peacock in Gita 4-4. She was investigating the Caldari's capital ship program, the Phoenix Project, where before they were caught and implemented Operation, what is it called? Contingency Omelet. Activated Contingency Omelet, and everybody escaped, including Hesri Hakazosu. We then find out that Leopold and Valari is, in fact, actually the Peacock. Well, actually, the Peacock is probably Leopold. Yeah, no. The Peacock is Leopold and Valari, who is very likely the guy who was involved in the capture of the dossier and releasing it to the Deathless back in 2016, I think it was. That was then shunted over to Upwell that caused the attack on the Serpentis, right? So Leopold and Valari has been working for the Deathless for quite some time, it would seem. Esri Hakazosu, who works for the Guristas, was effectively played by Leopold. And then, of course, the Deathless emerges shortly thereafter, once again, to show his power over the agency and various criminal organizations. So the point that I have here is that right now, last I checked, you can do a search on Leopold and find out that he is in the MTAC-M D3B system in the Great Wildlands region. He's hanging out with the Thucker, right? We're not... this might be out of date, because this is like almost a year old at this point, but you could actually do an in-game search for Leopold and Valari right now to figure out where he is. Esri Hokozosu, same thing. You can actually do a search for her, and you find out that she is in the Garissus Production Shipyard Station in 6NJ8 TAC-V system. So she's with the Garissus. She escaped back with the Garissus. That's fine, right? So the reason why I bring this up is because as of right now, as far as I know, Rafik Zohar is unidentified. He can't be searched for in-game. You can't look him up. You can't do a search for him. He is vanished off the face of the earth. But the event that introduced him is likely going to start within the next week. So the question is, who did Rafik Zohar actually work for? Was this also part of the Deathless, knowing that there are contingencies within like Thucker pirate groups, including the Sekal clan, that do work for the Deathless? Is this independent, and will we see a continuation of this storyline and a development of what's going on with the Angel Cartel, especially with their control over Skarkon, or their I guess their operations in Skarkon, going back all the way to the Empyrean Age book, and of course Skarkon is now pulled into Pakvin, and also just the Angel Cartel's overall business dealings. They've been caught now in the Abyss, and one of the final chronicles we ever got, which is Sorrel's Flames. What was the name of the chronicle? I think I did a reading of it, didn't I? Moment of madness. Mithras Gate. Yeah, so Mithras Gate, the Angels, or at least a branch of the Angels, finds a facility that seems strangely like a Triglavian facility. It's very mysterious. It's an interrogation between two different people. It's unknown who the identity or affiliation of the person asking the questions are. So how the Angels connect to everything is still kind of a big unknown. They are one of the more technologically advanced people, and one of the people that might know the most about what's going on when it comes to the Jovian technology. However, they've laid relatively low, but the event that's starting next week, probably, is related to the Angel Cartel and the Serpentis. See, unlike the rest of the pirate groups, which are largely independent, the Serpentis and the Angels are very tightly coupled with each other. The Serpentis Corporation is just that. It's a corporation. They're a bunch of drug producers. They're a pharmaceutical company. Now, obviously, they live on the fringes of the law, but they are, in essence, a pharmaceutical company. The Angel Cartel is basically an empire. They are as big as most of the other empires in Eve. The only problem is that the Angel Cartel wasn't founded until just after the formation of Concord. Therefore, the Angel Cartel was basically dismissed as a potential proper empire, because they're not a Dark Age empire, they're more of a modern empire. But they really are as big and as strong as any of the other empires, besides maybe the Amar. So, they have multiple branches. They're a full-size civilization, more or less. So, there is a branch of the Angel Cartel known as the Guardian Angels. And the Guardian Angels have a constant and ongoing contract with the Serpentis Corporation to do two things. One, they provide security And 2, they provide research and development for the Angel Cartel. This is why Serpentis ships and Angel ships kind of work together so well, and they kind of have the same sort of philosophy about themselves. Because the Serpentis ships are, in fact, actually made by the Angel Cartel. And so the event that's starting next week, the Guardians Gala, is, well, probably next week. The Guardians Gala is about that relationship between the Serpentis and the Angel Cartel. So, like, for instance, the final boss in the sites, the MC, can either be a Machariel or a Vindicator. All of the rats are either Serpentis or Garistus. Serpentis or Angel Cartel. And the skins themselves are like the Aramanthine Mantle, which shows... is that why Guardian Serpentis rats are tougher? Probably. That's actually probably true. That might be right. But like if we go to the Machariel, this Amaranthine Mantle, right? If you notice, the Machariel logo is the Angel Cartel logo, right? But the Amaranthine Mantle is this like circle, this like half circle. This logo is the Guardian Angel logo, not the Angel Cartel. We could also look up the Vindicator. And we can see that it also has the Guardian Angel logo, as opposed to the Serpentis logo. Okay? So this is what we are kind of... this is the event. We're probably going to go over more about the event as we get closer to it or whatever. There are videos from last year. I see no indication that this year's event is going to be mechanically very different than previous years. But, yeah. What we're talking about today is more whether or not that will actually advance this storyline, especially since there has been a lot about the Deathless and Smugglers, especially within the Pegler and the Pegler constellation, and Eugetes and that whole surrounding region has had massive amounts of piracy recently as people have been reacting to the Intaki situation. So my assumption is that with all these HQs coming in, that next week we're going to see the beginning of the Guardians Gala, and somehow that's going to tie into the next faction campaign. But we're going to have to see. And hopefully the next faction campaign is going to also tie into the affiliation system, the allegiance system that allows you to participate in faction warfare without actually being in faction warfare. A couple things about that. As we get closer to this faction campaign, I do want to point out that last time we had a faction campaign, the biggest confusion that people had was that they thought that they could not participate if they weren't in faction warfare. Both major objectives could be completed by people that were not in faction warfare. The mining and the hacking site could both be done regardless of your personal affiliation. The hacking sites did attack you if you weren't part of the friendly affiliation, but that was also true if you were a hostile militia. So even just a neutral has the exact same situation. As far as the mining goes, whoever turned in the ore, turned in the ore. So it doesn't matter whether or not you were in the militia or not. The only reason why you would need to be in the militia in the previous faction campaign was the actual territory control aspect of the event. So keep this in mind. Even if we don't have the allegiance system by next faction campaign, it is almost certainly worth looking into how you can get involved to help shape New Eden's future by participating in that faction campaign. And it is coming very, very soon. Yes, the allegiance system is about being in faction warfare without having to be in a faction warfare corp. What I'm saying is that they could very well tie all of these things in together thematically, right? Something could happen that leads to the next faction campaign, which is also how they introduce the allegiance system. Because if you think about it, with new headquarters, what do you think is going to be how the allegiance system works? Maybe in order to participate in the allegiance system, you must go to the headquarters first in order to swear your allegiance, right? You would need headquarters put into the game ahead of time. On top of that, we have brand new facilities. We have facilities both in, we have the fate of Syndicate region, and we have the fate of the Turner people. Both are in play right now. We have transmutation technology being developed by the Amar. We have Khanid and Ardashapur, Khanid and Laidai investigating stars, in particular in that constellation, that region, Iridia. We have scouts caught from Khanid and Laidai doing surveying of stars in Iridia, as if that's going to potentially be the next step in the transmutation project. And we have a full fucking scale Amarian civil war ramping up with the forces of Catus Tashmerkon through the Tashmerkon family, Zerkosh, and the Imperial Royal Guard versus Ardashapur and House Sorum, who are attempting to control the Amatar Mandate and build up infrastructure there, both having claims over the quote-unquote rebel provinces of the Mimitar and Amar territories within the Caldari, within the Amar-Mimitar war zone. All of these things could easily be put in play for a new faction campaign to shape the future of the game even further over the next few weeks. How is this going to shape it? Remember, this transmuter technology almost certainly is designed to modify the nature of space-time in order to change the spatial topology, to mutate what kind of resources and transportation are available on any given system. What if the nullsec people get a transmuter that increases the number of wormhole connections, but also creates abyssal ore to spawn within their sites, giving you low sec and high sec ore in mass quantities within those systems, but are more connected to wormholes and therefore more likely to be interfered with? That is something that a transmuter could very, very easily do. And as the Amar and Caldari get closer and closer to perfecting their technology, we get closer and closer to that technology being ready for capsular consumption. So, yeah, they've already said that faction campaigns are going to change this course of the universe. This is where it's all about. And on that note, I want to talk a little bit about motivations. There are some people, there's a lot of people that look at things as being profitable, right? There's no point in taking the war zone because war zone control doesn't control how much money I make anymore. There's no point. There's no point in taking place in blah. There's no point in da-da-da because it doesn't benefit me. Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Not everybody, ISK is not the only motivation out there. The question that I have is, what are you getting this ISK for, right? What is it that we are... what are you doing this for? What are you playing this game for? And the thing is that this is about leaving your mark on the universe, whether or not it's subtle or not, right? In Kenrick, Stargate, there is the name of Aderon Robotics and several of our members. Very few people use the Kenrick Stargate, most likely. It's a low-sec gate that leads to Solitude. But you know what? Every single fucking person that is on that plaque is proud of it. Every single one of them brag about it as frequently as they possibly can. It is meaningful to them. What is meaning? What is worth it? What is value? Well, guess what? Value, by definition, must be created by human beings. Like you. What you value is valuable, right? So if you value forwarding the agenda of the Caldari people, forwarding the agenda of the Gallente people, forwarding the agenda of Marshal Serdan Zerkosh, or maybe taking him down a notch, if that's what's important to you, then these are the things that make that happen, and the amount of ISK that it takes, or the amount of ISK that you earn, are almost tangential to that fact. This is, as I say with people when it comes to faction warfare, yes, faction warfare is profitable, but at the same time, this is what we spend our money on, right? We earn the money so that way we can fight to defend our territory. We fight so that that way our home remains our home. We fight because we have made it important to us. We have set our goals, we have set our history, and we now live it. And that is where the meaning comes from. That's what makes the ISK worth it. That's why you continue to log in. That's why it doesn't matter whether or not Plex changes its price or whether or not any given activity becomes positive or negative or whatever, because this is about participating in the simulation. And that changes all the time. And we fluctuate and we change with it all the time. But it's about the simulation. That's what I mean when I say that this is more important than any one of us. This is about what we are creating together. This is about the story of a fictional universe that we write through our real actions. And that is something that I feel is important. And that is something that I like to participate in. And I feel that my viewers, a lot of you guys, really get that. And so, you know, if you don't get that, if you don't care about it, if you're cynical, if you don't think that's important, then by all means, great. If you think that the ISK is all that matters, and if you don't like the fact that you can't Titan Rat anymore, I'm sorry that Eve isn't giving you what you want. But what I challenge you is just decide to care about something, and care about something that someone else can stop or take away from you. Care about something that matters, that can be put into threat, and something that you have to work towards. Because that's where real meaning is going to come in. A good example of this, when Aderon, you value your name on a sculpture in Reykjavik. Yeah, exactly. Right? It's the silly things that end up mattering the most. You know, lore is everything to me. This stuff is great, and I'm glad that you put the light on all this shadow. Thank you very much. Yeah, I sincerely believe that the only problem with the lore is how inaccessible it is, and that's why I'm here to try to help you guys get into it, and of course trying to encourage you guys to help in discovering this shit, because, you know, there is, you know, we're unraveling this stuff in real time. The real question: if Sancha and Tashmurkon go at each other, who would I assist? That's a good question. That's a very good question. It's hard to say. Enemy of my enemy is my friend, but who is the enemy of your enemy in that case? But on that note, I do want to talk about something else. Oh, actually, no, hold on. Let me tell you a story. Aderon Robotics was... when we first joined the militia, or in the early days of the militia, we got convinced to move up to Nenemelia, which is where the rest of the militia was at the time. And we really didn't like it there, because there we were very much a small fish in the large pond, right? We fell under the rules of the quote-unquote leadership of Galmil. You know, they claimed plexing rights, and it was just a bunch of drama and bullshit. And ultimately, we were losing our individual identity as a corporation to the collective identity of the Galmil. And our leader at the time, Marcel Devereaux, did not like this. And so he pulled us out. And he put us in Hades. And we defended Hades for quite some time. In fact, there was one time in which the Caldari tried to take Hades, and it even got it up to vulnerable. And when we turned for help from Nenemelia, Nenemelia said, well, Hades isn't a real home, we're just going to let it fall. We didn't let it fall. We took that system all the way from vulnerable to stable. All the way down from 100% to 0%. It was a thing called Operation Firefly, and we still have the medals that says, you can't take the sky from me. Now, unfortunately, everything in Eve is ephemeral, and even that great victory was a temporary one. And a few months later, they did manage to take Hades from us, kicking us out of Hades. We didn't really know where to go, and so we went next door to Yvonye. Yvonye is adjacent to Hades, but it is not in the war zone. And we figured that this would be a good place to kind of hang out and regroup as we started to, you know, it's like, well, we don't necessarily want to have to fight for our home every day. Let's take a breather. Here's the problem with that. As soon as we did that, our fleets and activity dropped by 2/3 instantly. Didn't matter what we did. We could put up fleets, we could put up whatever, we could do whatever we want. Activity within the alliance or within the corporation dropped by 2/3, literally overnight. Why? Nobody had skin in the game. Why would I log in? Right? I'm tired. I've been logging in a lot. Right? Nobody's going to take Yvonye from me. There's nothing to do. We have work to do. Maybe we might try to take back Hades, but that's an uphill battle. Why would I log in? Why would I care? So people didn't. They stopped playing. And we started to rot. Like, Aderon started to fall apart very, very quickly. It was at that time that we were having a meeting, and I was just wandering around, and I jumped from Hades to a system next door, and I asked Marcel, hey, why don't we try to take Fleet and hold it? And that's how that started. That's why we're in Fleet to this day. Because it is all about skin in the game. When the Caldari rose up a couple of years later in the Gallente were willing to cede the entire war zone to them in order to pull our assets out so we could strike again from the outside, I refused. And Aderon Robotics held our stand in Fleet. And it was so motivating that X-Meta came over and we formed Federation Uprising and became the largest power block within the Gal Mill for several years. All because we were unwilling to give up, unwilling to say that we lost. If you're going to take my home, you're going to take it one plex at a time, and I'm going to be shooting you down every fucking step of the way. And you know what? We did it. And that's what ended up mattering. That's what ended up defining us. And that is what has continued to be Aderon Robotics' identity to this day. In my opinion, that's important. So, I do want to talk about something else that's somewhat similar to that. I want to explain to you guys, this is a bit of a change of topic, slightly. I want to make an argument to you guys. My argument for you is that mining is good, actually. Like, not just mining is useful to the game, but mining as an activity is actually fun, good, and engaging. However, people who do AFK mining are missing the point. Now, with all my cards on the table, let me explain. The last few weeks, you know, we've been scaling up our moon mining operations in HiSec. And we have, my favorite part of EVE is living your small narratives within the larger story arc. Every ore matters. Exactly, dude. Exactly. Every time somebody's saying that nobody's doing something, I guarantee you they're wrong. There's hundreds of people making thousands of stories every goddamn day in this game. Just start kicking around and seeing the stuff and start asking questions. Why was there a bunch of Amar loyalists in Antaki the other day? I don't know. Something to look into. There's new stories appearing all the time because players make them. All right. But mining. So we have these moon mining operations, right? And, you know, obviously, moon mining in HiSec must be in a 0.5 system. 0.5 systems are prone to ganking. And, you know, let's just say that for various reasons, the Convocation of Empyreans have several enemies. Thus, you know, the idea of being ganked on our moon belts is not altogether uncommon and has been a little bit of an uptick recently in the last few weeks due to a specific group of people or two that have been being particularly harassing. Well, even without that, you know, it's worth keeping an eye on everything, right? You have a cluster of people. Everyone is semi-AFK mining, but everybody is there, right? How do we manage to not get ganked? Oh, I don't know how you managed to get ganked. Well, A, being a Hulk. B, don't be paying attention. So, but it isn't about any given one person. The key here is the collective work together. I don't have to sit there. No. It's not a covert recruitment drive. I want to argue this concept because I came to a realization yesterday that I think was very, very profound. The short of it is I'm going to be low-sec moon mining, or I'm going to be low-sec mining a lot more in the future. But, so ship doesn't matter? No. Ship does matter. You want to not get ganked? Have somebody else in the belt with you that's in a Hulk and you not be in a Hulk. That's the best way. Okay. So, No, it really does. Trust me. One of my best mechanisms for not being ganked is to make sure somebody else is in a Hulk in the belt, because that's the ship that's going to get ganked. All right. So the key here is you say no, but it's, dude, it happens. No, they can. You're absolutely right. I'm not saying that they will not be ganked. And also, Princess Aiko is not the only ganker. It does matter. Just because that they're... Hold on. Let's be very clear. The existence of a counterexample does not make it... does not negate the fact that something can make something less or more likely, right? I'm just pointing out that when I'm in a Mackinac and my buddy's in a skiff, so far every single time the other guy's in a Hulk, every single time it's been the Hulk that's ganked. That's all I'm saying. Either way, my point is not about making sure that somebody else gets ganked, but in this case, if the collective is all paying attention, calling things out, you're in comms with each other. A lot of people, yes, you're right, it is his fault, but I'm just saying, it goes back to the why do you lock your door? It's because it's not to prevent somebody from breaking in, it's to make it so that somebody breaks into somebody else's some other poor sap's car, right? Because their car is less defended than yours. Anywho, so the point of the matter is that we're all maintaining a relative level of vigilance. At least somebody's paying attention all the time, and we're calling things out. We're in comms together. Because when we're not, people get ganked. You know, we have these policies where, like, we're all in squad with each other. So that way, any given person can just hop into squad command position and warp the entire fleet if necessary. So that way we can get out, right? We work together to keep each other safe. And on top of that, if we can, we try to put scouts in, like, the neighboring systems, anything we can to prevent us from being ganked, because each one of us working together to pay a little bit of attention makes sure that the entire collective is paying attention enough that we start to avoid ganks rather than getting caught off guard. Okay? Cool. What I discovered yesterday is the exact same thing is true in LowSec. And that... no, Solstice, that is actually a bad idea. And that's the point. Like, this is the instinct that a lot of people get into. But here's the problem. If you say it's one FC, you're basically saying, I'm lazy, I want this one person to be responsible. A couple of years ago, we had a mining director, right? That mining director was leading a mining fleet. That mining fleet got ganked. Because after being the sole person watching that fleet, after 4 hours, he fell asleep. The group came to me and bitched at me and wanted me to jump down his throat because my mining director fell asleep on guard. And my response to them was, why the fuck were they relying on one person to do all of the work for 4 hours and have the audacity to complain when that one person ends up being human and fails in his vigilance after 4 hours of watching? No, this is not a matter of one person being responsible. Everyone within the collective should work together to keep everyone safe. That's the way to keep people safe. To say that one person is doing it is just scapegoating. And if you make it be the mining director, then guess what? You've now taken the only person that's actually putting in any goddamn work to make this happen, and you're now blaming him because you're too lazy to help. You're right, it only works with voice comms. Therefore, require it. If you want to be safe, require it. If you're not on voice comms, you're not safe. It's just that simple. So, let's take it back to last night. Last night, we were mining in LowSec. We had a small team of about 4 people, Two of us were in skiffs. One was in a prospect and one was in a porpoise. And what I found was we were all doing exactly the same thing that we did in HiSec. We're calling out every single neutral that's coming in. We're identifying what ships they are. Different people are calling things out. We have people running around doing scouting if need be. We have some idea of what to do if there's a problem. We are, we have bookmarks and align out points and are auto aligning as soon as there's a problem or there's a threat of a problem, and then restoring our positions as soon as things go back to normal. And because of this, we managed to mine uninterrupted for over 2 hours in low security space. But here's the thing. What was really happened? Well, no, we're not already aligned because you can't be aligned for 2 hours. What am I even doing then? I'm aligning as soon as I need to be, and I'm repositioning. Thank you, Mark. No, you can't. If you're aligning to your structure, you can have two different bookmarks and you can align back and forth. That's absolutely true. But the point of the matter is that I know what's coming. I don't need to act like anything could happen at any time because our intelligence network is keeping us safe. If somebody starts to even begin to come to our site, we already know it ahead of time and we're already in warp. I don't have to take myself out of position because remember, we aren't using the strongest boosts, so we only have like 20 kilometer range on our mining lasers. I'm stretching out between two different rocks, so I only have about 4 or 5 kilometers to work with. So every time there's a problem, I begin to align to the structure. Every time there's no problem, I reposition myself back to the beginning, so that way I can align again in the end. Yes, you can Higgs rig for the mining ships. That is true and valuable. But even then, at a certain extent, it still is kind of true that there is, it's still true that that you need to be vigilant. You get what I'm saying? Like, even with a Higgs rig, even with yourself aligned fully, it doesn't actually change the calculations of what you need to be doing. So, let's get to the actual point that I'm trying to get to, okay? What is going on here? What is happening? Why did we have fun doing this? Why did we find this rewarding? Why did we do this when we could have made about as much ISK per LP, ISK per hour, mining somewhere else, or doing the Abyss, or God forbid doing faction warfare and making 10 times as much ISK per hour because faction warfare is fun, right? We already do that. So why are we doing this, and why do we find it fun? Well, it's about fantasy and fulfillment, right? Power fantasies, mission running, Abyss, PvP, faction warfare. These allow us to experience our combat prowess and and see the full weight and power of our ISK and our ships and our whatever in order to and our knowledge in order to dominate whatever it is that we're doing and gain resources because of that. And that feels good. Victory feels good. Fighting feels good. Mining is boring, right? We all know this. Mining is boring. So why do we have fun? What core human drive was satiated while we were mining in LowSec? I'll give you a hint. I have post-traumatic stress disorder. I was a scout in the United States Army. My job was to sit in a location in Iraq, knowing that if I was found, I would be killed. And my job was to overwatch some area, be it a bridge, a building, or whatever, or a traffic stop. And identify threats, report information, and ensure ensure that our own operations do not become disrupted. That was my job. When I first joined when I first joined Eve, the thing that hooked me was that I joined Providence, a group in Providence, and I went there and I sat on the DNR gate, the choke point to our pocket, for 7 hours. And I reported every single ship that came in and out of that gate. And my people were incredibly thankful for it. What does this have to do with low-sec mining? It's about vigilance. It's about vigilance. You're not mining in low-sec. You're on guard. You're a watcher on the wall. Your life is your awareness. The team keeps themselves safe. It's not about mining safely. It's about mining carefully. That's why a lot of these concepts about how to best do it, or how no one mines in low-sec, or any of these things, all of it falls apart when you actually get to the practical application of doing it. Because you go and you find somewhere quiet. 89 Bravo, Iraq 2010. Hell yeah. 19 Delta, Iraq 2003, 2004. Right, exactly, Solstice. That's what I'm trying to say. Ultimately, we agree with each other in that sense, which is that mining, it can be incredibly valuable. 68 Whiskey, Afghanistan, 2008, 07. But if you AFK it, you've lost the entire point. It's about sitting there and being aware of the area around you. It's about maintaining vigilance and then reaping the reward of that vigilance. The mining is almost passive. The activity that you're doing is maintaining vigilance, which for a person with PTSD and hypervigilance, in a very weird way, this feels good to me, right? After an hour of low-sec mining, I didn't feel tired and I didn't feel bored. I felt fulfilled. I felt like we won. There were threats that came. There were moments that we had to be careful. There were moments that we didn't have to be careful and we got stuff done. We worked together, we coordinated and communicated, and we kept each other safe. I felt like I was doing things the entire time. Right? I still was able to go pop off and go get some water or something like that if I needed to. But it wasn't a passive experience in the same classic way. Furthermore, we actually were literally scouting. We were in a major point where if people were coming through, we could report it up to higher command. We just happened to also be making a ridiculous... We were making like 2 million ISK per cycle. I was making like 2 million ISK per cycle, so almost 1 million ISK per minute while doing so. And the thing is that since we worked collectively, there could be periods of time where I needed to go get some water or go to the bathroom. There are periods of time in which one of the other people needed to go away or to be, or maybe it was watching something else. But we could remain confident that at any given time, more than one of us was paying attention. Everything was getting called out. Everything was being done. We had awareness of what was going on. The gaining of intelligence and awareness was the activity. The ore and mining was just the reward. Does this mean it's for everyone? No. Flea Harvey Oswald says that he finds it soul draining. And you know what? He might. If I took Drake and I put him on a guard tower and I gave him an MRE, and I said, sit here for 4 hours and look out that way and report anything weird. Probably nothing's going to happen, but who knows, something might. Here's your 1 meal, and here's your bottle of water. If you need to go pee, drink the bottle of water and pee in it. I'll see you in 4 hours. Right? Pretty sure Drake might find that, you'd find that fun. Well, then it's the same fucking thing. It's the same thing. Right. It's what you do in Pochfin. Exactly, Fleet. But that's my point, is that, like, don't think about it as mining. You are doing an activity, i.e. the vigilance, that enables the mining. The mining is just the thing that happens because it now can. Read the rest of your other comment. I will. I personally find mining soul draining, with the small exception of nomading and wormholes. When Apocrypha came out, was pretty kino. Yeah. Right. So just right. Exactly. So under normal conditions, if it's just boring, if you're AFK mining, whatever, then it's not great. Right? But just like everything else in Eve, the more that you invest in it, the more that you invest yourself in it, the more you, in spite of the fact that you could maybe AFK it, choose not to. Do better. And you'll have more fun. Do you find missions boring? Are you doing it in a rattlesnake? Maybe that's why. Do you find the Abyss boring? Do you do it in a Gila? That might be why. Do you think that mining is boring? Do you do it in a High-Sec and an Orca? That might be why. There are more exciting ways of doing things. When they say risk versus reward, when they say a rewarding activity, this is what they're talking about. It's not a bad idea to mine in low-sec. You just gotta be good. You just gotta care. When people talk about how much they don't want to do it, oh my God, anybody could just show up and attack me. What you should really hear is, I don't feel like paying attention. Wah, wah, I don't wanna. That's it. That's fucking it. In low sec, if you're paying attention, you should never get ganked. And if you do, it's a crazy story. Right? Like, who gives a shit? I've gone into low sec several times with just a skiff. Just jumped in blindly, went to a belt, mined it till I was full, brought it home, and was like, well, that was fun. As long as you're paying attention, and as long as you know the lay of the land, you can totally get it done. It's not that bad. And it's worth a lot of ISK. It's a way to do things. And more importantly, here's the thing. Because you've done it as a group, this is the friendship machine, right? There are threats from all sides, and those threats will destroy you. You cannot do it all yourself, nor do you want to. But these brothers in arms, these people in comms with you, at your left and right side, they are the ones that are keeping you alive. They are the ones that will be your friends. And they're the ones that will be with you tomorrow. Right? That's what this is all about. I don't give a fuck about the ore. I don't give a shit about the ISK. I care that me and SpoonS are better friends now. I care that we are doing operations together. I'm here to be able to stare in the face of a bad idea and say, we did it anyways, and we accomplished it. Also, Drake, you don't understand how much I've been pushing for Pochfin mining. So, shh. Well, shh. Shh. That's what I have to say about mining today. Okay? Mining is good, actually. Stop AFK mining. I warped into like 10 barges in Pochfin the other day and lost a bubbler. Was almost a busher. We actually went to Pochfin to get some people's standings fixed the other day, and we landed on a goon swarm fleet of like literally like 10 hulks in a Pochfin mine ore belt. And so the people were like, "Wait, people can actually mine in here? And I was like, yeah, I mean, obviously. And there's a bubble that we landed in, and they're like, oh, they're doing it like no wormholes. Yeah, we could totally do this. I'm like, yeah, we could totally do this. We convince ourselves. We convince ourselves that things are too hard and too stupid to do. EVE Online is about the practical application of bad ideas. If you're not doing bad ideas, then you're not trying hard enough. Period. They should add a creative mode to EVE so I can AFK mine to build Keep Stars and Titans and HiSec. Singularity. I don't really care about my Z kill. Like, it's about the ISK inventory and targets. To me, it's about having my place in the universe. Sometimes that's about Z kill. Sometimes it's about ore. Sometimes it's about whatever, right? It's about wanting to get things done and solving problems. Why isn't everyone like us? Because for years, I'll tell you why, Solstice. For years, the people that felt that way needed to stay quiet to remain relatively low off the radar. Having things be secret was part of the point, and it kind of still is. Therefore, the conversation was dominated by loud, aggressive people. That's actually why I became louder and louder of an advocate over the course of like 2012 to 2015. Because I realized that the only reason why the nullsec rhetoric was like the default was because there was no one who was willing to step up and advocate for the other positions. And I think that like the HiSec war deck changes was a huge change in that, where now people, full-scale industrialists, can now speak out with confidence, knowing that they're not going to be war decked into oblivion. From my perspective, most people like myself quit the game 10 years ago. You're absolutely correct. And you know what? That's actually been the point of my stream forever. You know, back when I did Invasions, we had people come in all the time. It's like, wow, I didn't even know that EVE could look like this. What the fuck? I left 10 years ago because what I was looking for in EVE wasn't there. But this is so much closer to what I was looking for. And I'm like, yeah, you know, it's great. Don't believe the lies. Don't believe nullsec when they say that this is the most fun or the highest level of EVE. Nullsec is fine. Nullsec is good. I'm not disparaging nullsec. But they teach people that everything else in EVE is pointless and is designed to just lead people towards nullsec. So they drag people in nullsec because they convince them that this is the only part of EVE that matters.
Like, oh, wormholes. Yeah, we can totally do this. I'm like, yeah,
Jesus
we can totally do this.
Whoops, I didn't realize I was in comms. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Nullsec convinces people that this is the top tier of the game. So they come into the game, they join Nullsec, and they get given an Ishtar and get told to go rat. And that is the most boring fucking gameplay in the entire game. They're told that this is the tippy top. And it's literally the worst. And so they end up quitting. They don't check out other things. They don't check out faction warfare. They don't check out wormholes. They don't check out missions. They don't check out the Abyss. Because they were told that this was the best thing in EVE, and it's absolute crap. This is why I put on this show. Which, if you like my show and like what I do, please consider supporting the stream by becoming a member or whatever. Ratting is way better than mining? No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's the exact fucking same. It's the exact... No. Listen. Let me explain to you. Just in case there are people in here that have never ratted before, I want to explain the entire process of how to rat in nullsec. Okay? Ready? Step 1, undock your Ishtar. Step 2, warp to a haven at 20. Step 3, orbit the gate in the center of the haven at 12. Step 4, launch drones. Step 5, come back in 10 to 15 minutes. If you want to, you can keep an eye on local. chances are no one's coming. If anybody shows up, pull drones, warp away. At the end of the event, or when the site is over, pull drones, warp to the next haven, repeat as necessary. That's it. That's the entirety of ratting. I just explained it. If that is more fun than keeping an eye on the gates, monitoring different stuff in low sec because you don't have control over the territory, there's no umbrella to come and save you, none of that stuff. Incursions and abyssals, is it ratting? Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. If you're counting ratting as any PvE activity that involve combat, then yes. I separate ratting, in other words, running combat anoms, and abyssals as separate things. So that's just my nomenclature. So yes, the abyss is more fun than your average mining. Or I should say, the abyss is more engaging than your average mining operation. I can agree with that. But again, it's about different things, right? If I go through the abyss, I'll put it this, I'm going to confess something, okay? The abyss is stressful to me, right? Every time I go in, I might lose a bunch of stuff. I can bring in more stuff. I can make a fancier ship, which makes it so I'll lose the ship less likely, or I'll be less likely to lose the ship. But even then, you can't stop everything. I could always be disconnected. I could always be ganked. These threats always exist. And so in a world in which you can always DC, the abyss is never safe. And the safer you try to make it, the more stressful it actually becomes. I remember back when I was streaming before and I stopped streaming. One of the reasons why I stopped streaming was because I would DC several times a day. I just couldn't stream anymore. And while that's fixed, the paranoia of that is still in my brain. It is literally physically difficult for me to bring myself to do abyssals anymore. That's one of the reasons why I did the Cerberus fit the other day. I have not been able to do abyss as much as I would like to for the last 2 years because the idea of being DC'd is so terrifying to me. It's so unfair. I don't have a good way of dealing with it. I've had other bugs like my Aikawarazu bug, which you can find the video of. It's like the abyss couldn't beat me, so it cheated video. You know, these things happen and they're totally out of your control, and it's very stressful. It can be stressful. You know, I've got a tier 5 abyss ship. Tier 5 abyss is hard, so maybe I'm going to do it in tier 3 abyss. But now I'm risking losing a 4 billion-isk ship to do tier 3. Am I stupid? And so I end up not doing it, right? Like, it's its own kind of stress. But when I complete it, I feel good because I'm victorious in spite of the threats, right? But that is a different fulfillment than I got when I was sitting there mining. It was a different fulfillment than what I got as I sat there and watched local, and we all collectively kept ourselves alive through our vigilance. They are both good. They are both ways to have fun in the game. But it is absolutely true that they scratch different itches. In the same way that market trading scratches a different itch. And espionage and spying scratches a different itch. These are about our motivations beyond just ISK. If I just wanted ISK, then I would sell some of my stuff. I have plenty of ISK. If I just needed ISK, I would never play this fucking game again. I don't need the ISK. What I need is things to do. What I need is motivation. What I need is an agenda, objectives, and a desire to accomplish those objectives, and a desire to be useful to my friends. Autonomy, mastery, purpose. This was something that was discovered a few years ago. There was a big research, I think it was Chinese. There was a Chinese researcher that was looking into what leads to fulfillment in life, right? What is it? They looked at all kinds of different factors. Is it wealth? Is it marriage? Is it a good job? Is it, whatever? What are the factors that contributes to overall satisfaction with one's life? And what they discovered was There are three things that are universally an indicator of of life satisfaction, of personal sense of fulfillment. And those three things are autonomy, mastery, and relatedness, also known as purpose. Okay? Autonomy is the sense that you get to make your own decisions. You can choose how you want to do things. You have an influence on what does and doesn't happen. Mastery is a sense that what you are getting is getting, what you're doing is getting better. You got feedback and you're making improved choices over time and gaining a sense of mastery. And purpose is that you sense that what you're doing has meaning to something larger than yourself, whether it to be other people or a larger organization. Okay? Autonomy, mastery, relatedness. That's it. So, the thing is that our world, in the way it is constructed, and our businesses in the way that we're constructed, is almost designed to suppress those three things, especially that relatedness. We continually compartmentalize our work, divorcing ourselves from the results of our own effort, right? This is why there's a great lecture called Jane McGonigal. It's ramp? What is the relate? Are you saying relatedness and purpose are the same one? Because what I'm saying is just like this is satisfaction theory. Either way, there's a game developer / advocate called named Jane McGonigal, who talks about this, and she talks about how relatedness, autonomy, mastery, purpose. I've actually never heard both of those be used at the same time. I've only ever seen the relatedness and purpose be interchangeable, but that's kind of interesting. Anyway, my point is that what she proposes is like, let's look at World of Warcraft, right? What is World of Warcraft? World of Warcraft is just a work generator, right? Here's a quest. Go do this for me, collect 10 bear asses, and come here and give it back to me, and I'll give you gold. But what does it do? Let's look at it. Autonomy. You get to choose whether or not you want to take the quest and how to achieve it. Mastery. You get better and better at your class and at your way of doing things, your navigation, your understanding of the fights, etc. Purpose. I need to get these bear asses because this person needs them because she's trying to accomplish this goal for the missions, for the overall effort of the Horde, for whatever reason, right? That's autonomy, mastery, purpose. This is why people will bitch and moan at their work all day and then go home and voluntarily work a second job that they don't get paid for, whether that's EVE or World of Warcraft. Because the thing is that we crave meaningful work. We crave to be meaningful. We want to matter. We want to be useful. We want to feel worthy, right? And the problem is that our real world strips us of that. And thus we seek that recognition in artificial spaces. In World of Warcraft, those objectives are artificial. And yet people still seek purpose in that, right? People still feel good about their pursuit in the Horde and their gaining of levels and their intrinsic and extrinsic rewards connected to that. In EVE, that purpose is magnified to the umpteenth because we create our world within the sandbox. Autonomy, mastery, purpose is one of the reasons why EVE Online does so well when it comes to retaining people. But the issue is that once again, that general advice, the practical wisdom that is expounded, ends up speaking against this, right? We are taught to be risk adverse. We are taught to look for solutions that don't require skill. We, thanks, Phil. We, in the Abyss, we look for fits, that will make it so that our piloting doesn't matter as much. When an event happens, we don't try to figure out what to do. We go and ask people what ship to use. We attempt to figure out the fit that makes it so that it's just the fit itself that does it. Right? That's funny. So as I've said many, many times, Eve is what you make of it. It's a sandbox. CCP is not responsible to give you purpose. All they give us is the tools by which we can create our own. So yes, if you want to be dismissive of it all, if you want to think that low-sec mining is not worth it, if you want to think that faction warfare is too low scale, if you want to think that ratting in anything smaller than a carrier, it misses the point or whatever, I'd like to suggest that maybe, just maybe, you're the one that missed the point. And maybe, just maybe, you're cheating yourself, right? Like, a push-up is a lot easier to do if you only go down like an inch and come back up and count it. But it's not going to make you as strong, doing any sort of exercise, if you do it with bad form, it's not going to do as good. Sure, it's going to be easier. Sure, you're going to get the reps done faster. But what the fuck did you do it for? So that's my question to you guys. Not just, what are you doing in Eve? But what are you doing it for? Not just, I'm doing it for the ISK. Not just, I'm doing the ISK to plex my account. Why do you need to plex your account? Why do you need the ISK? What are you doing it for? And the sooner you answer that question for yourself, the sooner Eve will transform from a mere curiosity and game with mechanics that you feel it's like you versus CCP or whatever, and into a universe in which you are trying to engage with your story and seeing the playing out of other people's story and engaging with them as you want to. And I think that is why Eve is in the Museum of Art. That is why Eve has survived all these years, in spite of the fact that, it's had some rough times, That is why, in a world in which hardcore PvP games don't do very well, Eve has stood out as being one of the most successful of all of them. Can I write a comment like I would in any other place? Of course, Solstice. Uh-oh. Ah! Hold on. Let me figure out where I am. Ah! I am live, but what's up? Question mark. But are you sure? I mean, I guess we'll see. No, I'm never sure with you. ISK is only a tool to allow your goals to figure out and goals to just playing your to facilitate your needs. Exactly. People ask me, it's like, well, how do I earn ISK? What's the best way to earn ISK? The way you want to. And that's not a non-answer. Like, I hate the answer of like, you can do whatever you want. But the key is like, the best way to earn ISK for you is the way that you enjoy. That's your thing. What's the best way to earn money, right? Sure, become an investment banker. But not everybody's going to do that. Some people would rather just have a fulfilling career. So, this is why I say, like, as a new player, if a new player asks me what is the best way to make ISK, I say, well, learn the game. Experience the game. Experiment with it. Try different things. Find out what is your thing. And then get good at it. Because that's how you're going to make money. Right? It's like, if you join World of Warcraft and you say, how am I going to make gold? My answer is going to be, get to cap level first. You got to figure out what you're going to do and then figure out how to do it right. Or that guy who claims fleet fights are his peak playing, but he's a loser. The required hand-holding for it to happen in the first place. Well, so I'm going to push back on the concept that he's a loser. Because the thing is that and I hate to put it this way, but being a cog in the machine is valuable too, right? It goes back to autonomy, mastery, purpose. And that stress thing, right? A solo pilot may not have the confidence, may not have the sense of mastery yet, because Eve is really bad at giving you a sense of mastery. So they may not have the mastery yet to feel confident that they can do the right thing for their group by doing it as a solo pilot. But by being part of a fleet, there's almost like a guarantee that they're doing the right thing. There's an assurance that their effort, it will not be in vain. And I think that is the thing that a lot of people seek out. You know? Get this. Today Eve came from wanting the world to take more stress medication to improving all mankind. I sincerely believe that Eve is important. This is why I do what I do. I feel like Eve is important. I think that Eve teaches us about ourselves. I really do. Eve allows us to experiment with human psychology and sociology on a level that would be, quite frankly, irresponsible and dangerous to do in the real world, as it were. It is by far one of the most interesting social experiments in the modern world, in my opinion. It's my stress release. Finish work, jump in, and enjoy some exploration with Pink Floyd playing in the background. I'm old. It makes me happy. Your mileage may vary. Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the other thing. A lot of people, play the game to chill out, not to be stressed out. This is actually a problem. I ended up avoiding Eve for a while because, anything that wasn't stressful wasn't worth doing. And everything that was worth doing was stressful. So I ended up playing Final Fantasy XIV a lot, right? I ended up playing No Man's Sky a lot. Because I didn't want to sit there and just spam D-scan, knowing that if I fucked it up for even a second, then I would have a major loss and it would be all my fault. I have a responsibility to myself to not do that. And so day after day after day, I choose to decompress somewhere else until one day I allowed myself to just F off and do some missions. And then I realized, oh my God, I love this game. And I got tricked. I got tricked into not doing the thing that would have given me fulfillment because I didn't value it. The mining thing. I've started mining more and more and more within the last year. Not because I think that mining is exciting, but because it's well, I may as well, right? It's low key. If things go wrong, then fine, but at least I'm doing something. Sure, I'm only making maybe 10 million IS per hour, but the alternative is not being logged in at all. And so I've started doing that. I've started allowing myself. I woke up this morning and I logged in and I just started mining in my belt in HiSec. And I made about 30 million ISK this morning. And sure, I could have made that really quickly if I had done it in the Abyss instead. But I was getting my son ready for school and all that sort of stuff. And so the answer is, I wouldn't have logged in to do the Abyss. I wouldn't have logged into Satisfactory. And that might have sucked me in for the whole rest of the day. But instead, I got into Eve and I got some work done. And I felt good about it. Once I allowed myself to do the stuff that I don't necessarily need to sweat as much, then I was able to have Eve be both the thing I do for adrenaline and the thing I do to unwind. And that was a journey for me, especially as I became more popular and therefore my name became more well known and therefore I became more of a target. You know, this paranoia sinks in, and I had to defeat that for myself. And I'm not even sure if it's fully defeated, but that's what I mean by this teaches us about ourselves. In the end, the true skills that are tested in Eve are human ones. Your ability to mitigate risk, your ability to continue in the face of adversary, the ability to communicate with others, to put forward, to build something in a world in which everyone else celebrates tearing it down. For years, I said that I don't play EVE Online to be a villain, because back in the day, EVE Online's slogan was EVE Online, be the villain. I said I didn't join EVE Online to be the villain. I joined the game to be a good guy in a universe in which that matters. In World of Warcraft, if I want to be a hero, I just pick Paladin and I'm done. I'm now a hero. If I want to be a hero in Skyrim, I have to create a character, right? That's it. That's it. You just get it by default. In Eve is a test of you as a real person. You want to be a hero? Great. People will treat you like you're heroic, but you better well be heroic. And I think that matters. At least it matters to me. My corp started mining in Lowsec a while ago. Rocks for the Hulks and content for our PvP crew while having a beer together. Exactly, exactly. I've always said, like, the best way to mine in Lowsec is to get to a point where you want people to drop on you, right? Like, that's the correct way to do it, right? To mine in such a way where you're like, man, I hope somebody drops on us. I just wanted to mine in peace and relax, and then I got ganked. WTF, leave me alone. Well, that's the thing. It is about doing these things in the face of adversity. If you do things in a way that can get punished, then you get punished. You know? I have done a lot of thinking to figure out where I want to mine, how I want to mine, what I'm going to do about it, what kind of protections I'm going to put into place, all that kind of stuff. And in a world in which I couldn't get ganked, none of that would have mattered. The entire gameplay of mining wouldn't have mattered, right? You could just undock in perimeter and just mine the fucking belt. Who cares, right? In Echoes, I just undock, warp to the anomaly, and mine. And then warp to the next anomaly, and warp to the next anomaly, and warp to... because they don't have belts in the same sort of way in Echoes, right? But, like, there's no real consideration there. In this case, because there's a threat, I must put in the thought process of how I want to mitigate that threat. I wish reality was more like you imagined it compared to how people actually play the game. I know a lot of people don't play the game this way. I think that they're cheating themselves. That's why I'm here advocating for it. I'm trying to help people understand that there is a more fun game out there. As in, there's a more fun Eve out there. Most people have none and do fine anyways. They do fine. But there's different ways of succeeding and failing in the game. As I've said before, a lot of the times when you see people complaining on the forums, what you're really just seeing is somebody dying. You know, somebody failing to adapt. Somebody losing the game. I love that you have this channel and you don't have to worry about getting cut off or those trolls purposely trying to misunderstand. Yeah, I mean, well, I do appreciate, like, I like to say I appreciate a straw man as much as the next person. I like people to give me feedback and discuss things, but you're absolutely correct. I feel like there is enough force towards the classic narratives that beyond addressing the, you know, top level straw man points, it's almost not worth it, right? Right? Like, my goal here is to teach people that there's an alternative way. At the end of the day, it's a game. You should really measure the quality of your play by the level of enjoyment. I can suck and still have fun. It's also a hobby, right? I like to think of it like a train set. I like to tell people it's the kind of thing that in 3 years, if you get into it, you're going to want to show it to all your friends and none of them are going to get it. Right? It's a thing that you just kind of continually tinker with. Because it's not just about what you did today. It's about how what you did today contributes, even in a little bit, to everything that you're working on. My story isn't what I did yesterday. My story is the last 10 years and how one sequence of events leads to the next. How how what I did today set myself up for success for the next day. How my lack of preparing today exposed me to the thing tomorrow. The amount of times that we've been evicted from a wormhole where I've had to explain to people, or anywhere, like the bad thing starts. They come and reinforce your structures. And people are like, what do you do? What do we do? And it's like, well, 6 months ago, I told you to make sure to put your blank clone into the wormhole and to put in these equipment. Did you do that? Well, no. How do I do that now? You don't. It's already... It's the final test now. It's too late. You don't get to prepare for something once it's already started. You have to set yourself up for success. And you learn these lessons. And you go, oh shit, I can't ignore these things. What are these friends that everybody keeps talking about? The Convocation of Empyreans are here to maximize player engagement with EVE Online. We as an institution not only help out everyone broadly, but we also have our own contingency of people where we help try to make sure that we can have our membership engage in as many different activities within the game as possible, from mining, fobs, mission running, all the way to defending the southern half of the war zone through Aderon Robotics. So if you want to make friends, come join the friendship machine. Come help defend the southern half of the war zone against the fascist state. 07. Ah. Boy. Today was a day, wasn't it? I'm going to play an ad while I recover. Oof. All right. Let me know and well, I guess whoever would let me know is already gone, so whatever. Where is there? What? Where's my ship? Who are the fascist state again? No. The fascistic state, capital S. I'm calling the state, as in the Caldari state. It's propaganda. That's what that is. That said, the state does kind of they get a little fashy every once in a while, and right now they're dabbling with it once again.
Cold wind remembers the darkest of days. When the rains of our world became laced with fire. One warrior's fierce duty seared a path to our future. The ultimate sacrifice made in blood and steel. We remain Caldari, no matter the cost. Everything we are, owe to our ideals. They fuel our rise as the heart of a raging storm. A beacon of strength and a shrine to our identity. Honor and preserve your family, your corporation, your state. Without hesitation. Without remorse.
Yeah. Just a little bit dabbling with the fasci. But hold on. We'll counter that. Let's counter that. Nope, go away. Where freedom, law, and justice is denied, war is inevitable. Nearly a millennium and a half ago, the Gorun Empire collapsed, bringing chaos to the planet of Gallente Prime. However, from this struggle came the birth of freedom to the New Eden cluster. It was this precious seed of freedom that first made contact with their younger sisters on their neighboring planet of Caldari. The planet of Caldari Prime was cold, and only recently habitable thanks to the completion of an ancient terraforming project. But with the aid of the Gallente people, they were able to survive and thrive, and together they took to the stars, and together they built the first Stargate from their mutual cradle of Luminaire. Soon after came contact with the Intaki and the Manar, and so many others. So many lost and wayward children barely surviving on their own. But together, freedom grew. But the Caldari refused to contribute to the shared burden that freedom brings to those who wish to maintain it. The gall of the corporate overlords have driven their people to deception, rebellion, and terrorism. Where freedom, law, and justice is denied, war is inevitable. On February 21st, YC-111, Marcel Devereaux, AI genius and cluster-renowned engineer of Capsuleer Tools, was born for the second time. His dream of a robotics and technology manufacturing powerhouse was soon realized in Aderon Robotics, named after his home constellation. But peace was not for Aderon Robotics, not so long as freedom is in peril. Marcel was a fierce loyalist to the Gallente people, and in YC-114, when the Militia War Powers Act of YC-110 was restructured, the once industrial powerhouse of Aderon Robotics transformed itself into the defenders of the innocent and killers of those who would persecute them. When the Northern Militia deemed Hades too hard to hold, Ader held. When the Caldari Uprising of YC-118 caused the majority of the Gallente powers to give up their territory, Ader refused to give up the South, and from their base in Fliet, the South held. Inspired by Aderon's stalwart defense, Mecha Enterprises' fleet joined up and Federation Uprising was born. From Intaki to Valor, the South was free, thanks to FedUp and Aderon Robotics. Only after Ader was asked by FedUp to leave the war zone was the Caldari allowed to take Fliet, if only for a moment. Enraged by this, Aderon left FedUp and rejoined the war zone, retook Fliet, and again it stands as a bastion of freedom in an otherwise conflicted war zone. Now the Gallente militia is in shambles. Valor Accords, previously seen as the last bastion of Gallente support in the war zone, has moved to Mimitar militia, abandoning the Caldari and Gallente war zone. The fighting is hard. Organized pirate lords roam the area, and new threats rise within the state. And now an army of Amarian drones have descended upon our territories, threatening everywhere not being actively patrolled, and bringing the threat to our very doorsteps. But we will hold. Aderon Robotics needs you. The Federation needs you. Freedom and democracy itself needs you to join us in continuing our journey. When they said it couldn't be done, we did. When they said it wasn't worth it, we proved them wrong. Defend freedom. Defend democracy. Join the growing legacy of Aderon Robotics. Boom. All right. Yeah. Is there anything else to talk about today? I think we covered a lot of ground real fast. I do remind you, so this is going to be the only stream for this week, most likely. However, I will be trying to get out the edited videos from last week throughout the rest of the week. So make sure to check out the YouTube and subscribe and all that sort of stuff. So that way you get those. And I will be back next week. The only reason why I'm out this week is because my son has school off on Thursday and Friday for like parent-teacher conferences. Is Aderon Robotics pro cat ears? You know, I'm not going to speak for everybody within Aderon Robotics, but I am staunchly pro cat ears. And in fact, I would argue that anyone who is pro Gallente must, by definition, be pro cat ears. Everybody else is a traitor to the cause. Well, like, the cat ear concept comes from the Gallente. Like, the reason why I promote cat ear stuff is because, like, the idea of, like, extreme body modification and to include animal, like, parts being added and replacing human parts is a very Gallantean thing. Do you think the trig transporter technology is being introduced because it is a mechanic in the new FPS that CCP is going to release? Ding, 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 ding. Well done. And that's why the Gallente must be destroyed. Care of Diana Kim. Yeah, exactly. No, I sincerely, as soon as I read that, I was like, oh, okay, so this is how they're moving their soldiers around. Got it. But I also believe that the fate of Syndicate and the Turner people will be in our hands moving forward. More directly. All right. I went over all the things I wanted to go over. A few days ago, I saw a weird collidable structure in Tama or anomaly. It looked like a wormhole with a warp gate sticking out of it. The wormhole and gate were not active or usable. Could it be related? No. A lot of ore anomalies, or a lot of anomalies in general, have a lot of really weird stuff in it, including like static gates, particle accelerators, etc. Now, they probably are related to like the overall weird mysteries about what has happened to this universe prior to the rise of the Dark Age empires and the Precursor Crisis. But there's nothing new in anomalies right now that I think is relevant. What we're looking for mostly is like those military buildups, like we were looking at right here. And we're looking into new things happening within the Pegalar constellation, the Surthroad constellation, the Syndicate, and the Amar area, like Iridian stuff. There have been new naval grounds, and of course, we have the headquarters that have been built. The Minmatar headquarters are going to be built. The Gallente headquarters will come soon enough, and I assume that shortly thereafter we will see the next phase of this whole faction campaign / allegiance / story arc of the empires. Which, of course, will probably lead to the transmuters during the spring vacation or spring expansion, and more focus around the pirates and, all-out wars in the winter expansion. Fun times ahead. Fun times right now, to be honest. Seriously, yesterday I woke up, mined, mission ran, went reinforced the structure, tried to defend our structure, killed a bunch of guys, then went, did more missions, and then mined again in low sec. Like, literally 15 hours or so of just nothing but Eve all day, just constantly doing different things. Somehow I managed to get, like, over 100 to 200 million ISK and a full set of low-grade Nirvanas somehow. I'm not sure how it all played out, but, you know, out there having fun. So when people are telling you that it's boring, just realize that it might just be because they suck. Have you ever thought about that? Just realize, like, when people are like, oh, no one's doing that. Well, maybe it's because the vast majority of the population is terrible, and you could be better. I think on that note, I might just be wrapping things up. I'm trying to think. I'm tired. I don't really want to do a practical application. I think I got other things to do. Like I said, I woke up this morning. My bank is amazingly overdrafted because fuck me. Still recovering from switching over to the YouTube thing, I think. But that should get resolved soon. But also, like, they still don't have my medication at the place, and just it's been a day. Yesterday was great. Today has been a setback. I think Ashtarothi just told us all to get good. Yeah. Yes, I did. Hold on. I already did it once. See, look. Getting good and avoiding ganks. So yeah, no, I've absolutely done that. And I will continue to tell people that. Look, if you're going to play a game, that you celebrate because it's hard, then guess what? Getting good is part of the process. If you're playing a game that is hard and you're succeeding without actually getting good, then guess what? It's not hard. Do you stream on the weekends, or is it only during the week? So I stream when my son's at school, basically. So usually not on the weekends, but if for some reason he's able to go somewhere or something like that, I might reserve the right to do so. But generally speaking, the game's not hard, bingo. It can be, depending on what level you are. If you want to do it safe, then go for it. If you want to cheat yourself, then fine. I've been whelping boosters like a madman to try to get good. Booshing is a fun thing, right? Because, like, on the one hand, you can, like, single-handedly change the course of a fight. On the other hand, that change might be to snatch victory from, snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, right? Like, I have absolutely booshed and been a hero, and I've also absolutely booshed and ruined everything. All right. Well, I think I'm going to call this. I'm going to call this good, I think. So I have been Ashtarothi. I've been playing this game since 2010, talking about it since 2012, and I'm here to put Eve into context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for coming, watching. Don't forget to hit like on the video before you leave. It's really, really important. My last couple of videos have been doing gangbusters, and it's all your guys' fault. Thank you guys so much. No, seriously, hold on. I want to show you guys something, and I don't know if this is against the rules or whatever. It probably is, but I just got to, man. I got to. This is amazing. Okay, so, like, this is technically going to show money, but whatever. Fuck it. Like, so here is my should you play Eve in 2023, and this is a pretty good video, right? It had, and here is my audience engagement, right? And you see, like, okay, well, it's about 450 to 500 a day, and we see this nice uptick in new user. LM1, coming in and gifting his 5 memberships, continuing his trend of just being an absolute baller. So on behalf of Kone, Tori Torres, Master Browncoat, Andrew Perry, and ACD Cat, thank you, LM1, for all of your support. 07. But, okay, so check this out, right? Like, I gotta brag on this for you guys, right? This is a good video. Hold on, let me just show you a different video. We're gonna go down to the Faction Warfare video. The Faction Warfare video is pretty fucking good. It's got 2K views. Other videos, like the New Kentucky Stargate video, 1,000 views. That's fine, that's good. I like 1,000 views. You go to audience or engagement, right? Like, we see there's been some good stuff. We see this big flux, and then it tips out. This is what a normal video looks like. 6 subscribers. Fuck. 6 subscribers for a single video is good. These are all okay. These are good stats for me, right? Like, whatever. It's not like gangbusters, but, you know, whatever. We're a niche, right? So, if I go here, and I look at the reasons to play Eve, we see that this is significantly better. Right? It's continued to be up. It continues to tick up at the end. 92 subscribers. Over, 150% more. No, sorry. 10 times, almost 15 times as many people as the other video got. This was a good video. All right? This is the Welcome Back to Eve video. It has gotten 10,000 views. It's now like my 4th best video of all time. 138 subscribers. It keeps going up. Why? Well, a lot of it is because it has 390 likes and 102 comments. That's you guys. You're doing that for me. You're making this happen. 07 to you guys all. Thank you guys very much. Thank you for your likes. Thank you for watching and your comments. Thank you to LM1 for your gifted sub. Thank you to... Oh! There's another one. Oops. There's another one, which isn't here. Damn it. There was a super like the other day I saw on a video. How do I find that? Yeah. I got a super thanks from Lawrence Gao yesterday, so I want to say thank you for the super thanks. What is a super thanks and a super thanks is basically you can make a comment. It's just like a super chat, where you basically, it's like bits, right? You put in a tip with a thanks, and I see that, right? So Lawrence tipped $1 or £1 to say thanks, and I say thanks to you for doing that. If you do want to help support, you can always become a member or a patron. These are the guys that make things possible. And even if not, go ahead and thank those people for helping me make this content. And for all the people that participate, like, comment, subscribe, participate in chat, come live, whatever. But a special thanks to my co-designers Abyssus, Aikawarazu Chan, Arydanika the Queen, BlackRoseNoble, Dajat Lemmont, Drake, GuldanAgeStories, J. Kuhn, LM1, Malak Starfire, Midnight Space Monkey, Not Just Fun, Seeds Aplenty, Serenolin with No Eyes, Syliana Vel'ash, Nephilim, Grendel, Zaul Nex, as well as Ebo1337 and Rid, my Immortal tier supporters. Thank you guys so much. It means a lot to me. And from what I figured out in the stream, or what I've seen in the stream, it means a lot to you guys too. So here's to yet more streams as we enter into February, Guardians Gala, the new campaigns, and beyond. But without further ado, I've been Ashrothi, the voice of New Eden. And until next time, I'll see you in space. link. You should be able to find it in the comments down below to get your million free SP, which you can use retroactively.
Bring on the wrecking machine, setting your dreams of heaven on fire. Bring on the wrecking machine. Bring on the wrecking machine. Bring on the wrecking machine. Gonna ignite your every desire. Bring on the wrecking machine. For every city you burn, let it burn, let it burn, let it burn. For every city